What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Barrel Up Podcast. My name is Doug Clark from Northern Baseball Trading, and today I'm joined by two-time MLB All-Star turned zoo owner turned motivational speaker, Shea Hillenbrand. How's it going?
It's funny. I'm doing great, man. I always forget that I used to own a zoo. Like, who does that? Who leaves Major League Baseball in their prime and buys a zoo? I guess this guy right here. So it's great to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, no worries. I'm excited to talk about that too. But as a lifelong Blue Jays fan and someone who's also gone through their own journey of self-discovery, I'm excited to talk to you about that. And because I'm big on positive self-talk, self-belief, empowerment, all the things that you're big on. So I think we have a lot of common in that. I know you've been very open and vulnerable about your rise and your fall and then rise again. So I want to get into that. But first, let's kind of just jump back to where it all started for you, where you grew up, where you played baseball as a kid, your experience getting drafted by the Red Sox, playing the MLB. Let's just kind of go back to that, and then we'll talk about the zoo.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that. I was born in Arizona, but I was 3 months old. My family moved to Southern California, Arcadia, California. It's a suburb of LA, about 30 minutes west of LA. And I just wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. In fifth grade, back in Mr. Murphy's class, I was sitting and Mr. Murphy came in that day, one of my favorite teachers, and because he cared, kind of like how we are. We care about the players and our athletes. And he said, we're going to dream big today. And what do you guys want to do when you grow up? And I'm vigorously raising my hand in the back of the class, like, pick me, pick me. And he finally picked me after he picked a few other people that said they want to be a fireman or a nurse or a doctor or a police officer, all this stuff we talk about when we're kids. And I said, I'm going to play Major League Baseball and I'm going to own a zoo. And all my classmates laughed at me just like that. And I made a pact with myself in fifth grade. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I don't know what it was, but inherently, I'm going to do it. I don't know what y'all are doing, but I'm going to do that. So I go to Dodger games. We have season tickets every season. And the consistency of a diehard Dodger fan, when I grew up, was you show up in the third, leave in the seventh to beat traffic. And you listen to Vince Scully on the radio. I sit at the top deck of Dodger Stadium with my mom and my best friend. And I have my chocolate malt in one hand and my nachos in my other hand. And I'd always say, I'm going to be down there someday. I just always say that to myself. And that's what I want to share with people. And I think a lot of the athletes nowadays, like, we lose the power of visualization. Like, visualization is the number one tool that we have. I never really cared about getting autographs. I never got an autograph ever, not even one. I bet my favorite player was Steve Sachs because I think he was an underdog and he can even throw the ball to first base. That tells you how much I really cared about the game. But I always said, I'm going to be down there someday. And I'd make my dream engage my senses. I'd hear the crack of the bat, feel the energy from the roar of the crowd. I'd smell the grass, the freshly cut grass. And I'd always imagine Vince Scully calling my name, now batting number 29 or whatever number I was, Shea Hillenbrand. And I'd go home at night. This is from 10, 11, 12 years old. I just, for some way, somehow, I inherently did this stuff. I wasn't told. My dad's like, hey, son, if you want to dream them big and whatever, you got to do visualization. You got to put hard work and you got to not give up and navigate failure and perform. None of that stuff. I just did it. Yeah. There's something inside myself that pulled me towards that dream. So many kids nowadays, so many players, I think you could attest to it, like, they're being pushed towards it. They're having to be pushed towards doing the work, committing to it, paying attention to it, all that stuff. And I think that's where I really want to try to fill that gap between the coaches and the players. Say, hey, dude, this is what it takes here and here to go achieve what your heart desires to achieve. So I'd lay in bed at night and I'd always visualize cashing paychecks, right? 10, 11, I'm going to cash $1 million paycheck. I want to see my name on the bottom ticker of ESPN. I want to do interviews on TV, cracking home runs. So, high school, I was number one soccer player in Arizona. I was way better at soccer than baseball. I had opportunities to play in Europe. I had opportunities to play at universities, but my childhood dream was to play Major League Baseball. So after high school, I walked on at a local community college. And the reason why I made the team is because of my work ethic. First guy there, last guy to leave every single day. I was really raw. And what I like to say, at that point in my journey of baseball, I was lumped in the 80 percentile of players. See, so many of us get lumped into 80 percentile of players because we really don't know how to allow our ability and our talent and our gifts, fast twitch muscles, quick processes with our eyes, all those things to come out because we really don't know how to play the game. So after my sophomore season of playing junior college baseball, after walking on, I became the #1 shortstop or baseball player in Arizona at the junior college level, and I got a chance to be drafted by the Red Sox. And that was 20 years old. And when I was drafted by the Red Sox, I proceeded to tell you, I'm no joke, I proceeded to tell all my friends around me that I got drafted by the White Sox. And they're like, what are you talking about, dude? You got drafted by one of the most prestigious organizations in baseball, 1918, Yankees, Red Sox rivalry, biggest in baseball, period. The New England is like 6 states. Like, wait. I always say 2 things. I grew up a Dodger fan in LA. The consistency of Dodger fan is you really don't know much outside of Chavez Ravine baseball wise, and you're just a Dodger fan. And 2, I don't care what Sox it is. I'm going to the big leagues.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't care who it is.
Yeah. So 5 years in the minor leagues through my journey, I had to pivot. I was drafted as a shortstop, made 14 errors in my first 10 games. I moved to third base. I moved to first base, but I could hit. And then after my second season of pro ball, they asked me if I want to learn how to catch in the off season in Australia. And I'm like, I don't know how to catch. I never thought about catching. I'm caught in middle school or little league because it's always fun to do. But I have nothing at the pro level. Like, I don't know. Okay, I'll catch. So I went and learned how to catch, and then I did very well doing that. Then in my first year in AA catching, they're going to call me up to the big leagues. All the rumors running around the organization. July 4th, during the season, I tore my ACL in my right knee. Taken off the 40-man roster, put on the back burner. I want everybody to understand that you have to keep that dream. You have to keep that vision. You have to keep that at the forefront of what you're doing, but you have to understand that you're not going to get there how you think you're going to get there. We need to learn how to pivot. We need to learn how to adjust. We need to learn how to roll with the punches. How are we going to get up after we get knocked down? We're all going to go through the storm. Doesn't matter if it's life, doesn't matter if we coach, doesn't matter if we play. We're all going to go through a storm. How you weather that storm and come out on the other end of that storm is going to dictate whether you're going to make it or not, or go to the next level. So I tear my ACL, 7-month rehab. They're like, you'll be lucky if you're ready to start playing by the time spring training breaks and the next season starts. I said, no. I'll be ready by the time spring training starts. So I went home, worked out in my condo. I got a 2x4. I got a medicine ball. I got a physio ball. I went behind Circle K or 7-Eleven in the middle of the night, throwing stuff against the wall, working out at 3 a.m, knowing that this is what I had to do to give myself the best opportunity to take advantage of the next opportunity that I have, because I wasn't the most talented. I'm not the most talented, but I'm going to get out of everything that I have with where I am right now. You cannot tell me no. Please tell me no. Please tell me I suck, because I'm going to use that as fuel to drive me through those times when I want to give up. When I wake up and like, I don't want to work out today. Or when I wake up and I just don't feel like I have it, I have to go hit. There's no questioning. There's no zero excuse mentality. So I go back to AA that next year after I tore my ACL. I came to spring training on time. I broke the league record for hits. I played third base because I couldn't catch because it was right after surgery. And then the next spring training, I get invited to big league camp as a catcher, hoping to go to AAA. To be the starting catcher, knocking on the door of the big leagues, man. I'm like at the top level. So I go to spring training as a catcher because they invite minor leaguers to major league spring training as catchers to do what? Catch all the bullpens. So the big league catchers don't have to be worn out, because there's like 40 pitchers in spring training, right? So it's like all the other guys were complaining that got called up. And I was like, give them to me. Boom, practice, train, practice, do it, train, take. How do you get that advantage on your competition? But there's one thing that I did. I behaved like a big leaguer. When I walked into that clubhouse, I behaved like a big leaguer, because your behavior will precede your talent, your ability, your mindset, your emotions, all that stuff. So I just observed and behaved like a big leaguer. I didn't act like I was like cool, but I acted like I belonged, and I did the work. I put my head down, and I just did everything they asked me to do. And come down to the last day of spring training, going to the manager's office. I thought I was sitting down to the AAA to go start my season, and he reaches out his hand, and Jimmy Williams, the manager of the Red Sox, and he says, "Congratulations, you made this team." I'm like,
that's so cool.
5 years ago, I was playing at a junior college that I walked on.
Yeah.
So the separator
That's crazy. Yeah.
It's not how much we know, which what Pedro Martinez told me. It's not how much we know. And there's so much information out there right now. There's so much information. And
Infinite
really
amount
good
of information.
But the thing is like as a former big leaguer that had success and was an all-star, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this is garbage or that's garbage or this is that or that's that. It is what it is. Because hitting's like a religion or politics. There's all certain ways of how people learn and do it. But
Absolutely.
the thing is there's so much information out there. And what Pedro Martinez told me, he said, Shea, you know how to get to the big leagues? I said, how, Pedro? He said, it's not how much you know. It's how quickly you learn it is what gets you there. How do I know what to work on in my swing if I don't know my swing? My swing's breaking down. My mechanics are breaking down because timing and tension and not understanding the sequence of what to focus on to allow my swing to evolve and naturally get on connected and get on plane or lock out my front side or do all this stuff that we're trying to teach and explain on Instagram and videos. If I don't understand the sequence and give myself time and understand my swing, none of that matters, right? Because every swing is different. I just happen to understand my swing because I did it so many times. You got to understand, I'd take 70,000 swings in the off season. I've swung a baseball bat over 2 million times. I'd be an idiot if I couldn't see it, understand it, and then feel it and be able to articulate it because I just did it so much. It doesn't mean I'm better than somebody else. It means that I just have a little bit more experience and understanding because I had to do it at a higher level. And I've done it so many times. So it's not how much you know, it's how quickly you learn it. So my second year in I get to the big leagues, and they're like, oh, you're too old to be a big leaguer. You're too old to be a rookie. I'm 25 years old. I just came from AA to the big leagues. The first guy in 30 years for the Red Sox to do that. How? I put my head down. I understood how I swing. I understood what I needed to do. And I had intention when I trained. I had intentionality when I performed. And I just leveraged more opportunities, not everyone because you can't in baseball, but I leveraged more opportunities than the next guy because I was prepared. We can never control the outcome of any situation. That's what so many of us focus on and try to dictate. I can't control it. It's impossible, but I can influence it by how I train and how I present myself in that situation. So you're too old to be a rookie, 25 years old. Okay, cool. I just worked. Jimmy Williams, the manager, off days, my rookie season. Hey, do you want to go to the stadium and take ground balls? Yes, sir. Let's go. Let's do it. No, it's not like, I got to do it. It's an opportunity. So many of us see this as a distraction. So many of us see this as a hindrance. So many of us see this as an obstruction. But I always saw everything as an opportunity to get myself better, whether I was training, whether I was failing, whether I was performing, whatever that might be. But so many of us think that, oh, this is just it's a distraction, or this is just man, this is inconvenient for me. I don't want to do this. No, it's an opportunity. So that's just a switch of the mindset. My second season playing in the major leagues, because I never got sent down. I don't know how, by the grace of God and whatever that might be. But the second season, I turn on the TV, ESPN in June. I never watched ESPN. I don't watch baseball. I don't follow it, like all that stuff. I turn on ESPN and I'm leading the third basemen in the American League at All-Star votes my second year in the game. How?
Yeah.
Just exactly what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Training with intention, understanding my swing, and putting myself in a position because I was the shyest kid ever. I didn't have a voice. I couldn't talk. But you put me on that baseball field, that was my out. That was my solitude. And I always figured as I was climbing the ladder to the major leagues, how am I going to perform in front of 40,000? How am I going to play third base or first base or catcher with Pedro Martinez and Nomar Garciaparra and Jason Varitek and Manny Ramirez and all that? How? Like this, how am I going to do this with 40,000 with ESPN when you're this? you just figure out a way and understand how to control this. So yeah, I 2 All-Star games. I hit 3 home runs in consecutive innings in one game. I played first base in a perfect game. I had highlight after highlight after highlight on a Major League Baseball field, just because I just understood how to control this and how I worked, because I work obviously differently than a lot of people that you have on your podcast. I'm high energy. I have passion. I'm passionate. I'm like, let's go. You know what I mean? So it's just understanding how you function.
Yeah, man. That's all that awesome. Like the biggest thing, just to jump way back, is visualization and believing in yourself. Because, you know, having a vision board and if you don't know where you're going, then how are you going to get there? And like being super specific with your vision, like you sitting in Dodger Stadium, I want this, like I want my name on ESPN, like I want, you know, them saying my name. Like you were so super specific, and you believe that you were going to get there. And a lot of kids will get told, oh, you're too small or you're not good enough, and they'll believe that because somebody else who maybe they look up to told them, hey, you can't do that. But if you just believe in yourself, ignore the opinions of others because they don't know, and you just get your mind locked in, you can literally accomplish anything. And you're like a prime example of that, because a walk-on in a junior college to becoming a 2-time All-Star, right? And nobody would have guessed that, right? For anybody, right? But you had that work ethic, and you believed in yourself is the biggest thing, and you visualize it every single day. And another thing I want to touch on was having that setback, because, you know, of tearing your ACL, your MCL, ACL?
ACL in my right knee, which is like a death trap for catchers, right? Because you're always squatting and always putting that pressure on your knees.
Yeah. And like a lot of people, when they get a setback, they'll crumble, right? But the most setbacks create the best comebacks, right? And it did for you. And which obviously turned into a great career. What was it like when you found out that you got drafted? Because obviously your whole life you've been dreaming about making the bigs, and then you get drafted. What was going through your head? Your number one dream was to make it to the bigs. You get drafted. What was that like?
It's interesting because I've never had that question asked to me before, and I've done thousands of podcasts. So thank you for asking that question. That's a great question. And I'm looking up because I'm trying to ponder and feel what it was. But the thing is that I wanted to play at a Division I university. That was my next step. That was like, okay, that's the most logical thing that I could do out of a junior college, because I always wanted to go to Arizona State University, but out of high school, I wasn't good enough. But out of junior college, I was good enough because I was the number 1 player in the state of Arizona. So I went on a couple of recruiting trips to a couple of different universities. I got a full ride offer from Arizona State University, which was probably more cool than being drafted, because that was my childhood dream, right? So
all the dreams are coming true
of at that point in time, right? The ultimate dream is to get to the top, but you know, you have steps of where you want to go on the way and where you want to visit. And obviously, every high school kid wants to play D1. Everyone plays a D1 powerhouse. Everyone wants to be there, but you know, it's not in the cards for everybody. And I know this, that the league will find talent anywhere. So as I'm sharing this experience with you, man, I had 28 of the 30 scouts teams sit at my kitchen table at my parents' house, and they all said the same thing. They all said the same thing. They said, you were the only player in the state of Arizona at the junior college level that ran hard from home to first every single time. It's such a stupid thing, because it doesn't take talent. All of us coaches talk about that stuff. All of us, you know, parents, whatever that might be, say, run hard. Run hard. It has a little bit of an effect on the outcome of a game, because a lot of plays aren't bang, bang, but it has an effect to allow yourself to get noticed. What are you going to do to separate yourself from the rest of the players? And this right here is what gave myself a chance to get looked at. But when the scouts and recruiters looked at me, they saw something that they're like, wow, there's something here. But the first thing was, I ran hard. I played hard. I did it as hard as I could every single time. And I can't stress to you enough that this game will chew you up, spit you out. It'll kick you in the tail. It's all about failure. It's all about give. Maybe get a base hit. Give. Oh, I might gotta walk. Give. Oh, a double. Give. Fail. Oh, there's a home run. Fail. Like, you got to understand how to
failing so much.
So many of us don't realize what the game demands. So I vaguely remember because I've had so much stuff happen in my life since getting drafted that a lot of people that I hope don't have to go through. But I remember getting drafted 10th round. I was supposed to go in the top 3 rounds. But the last game of my season in college baseball, I dove head first into first base. I didn't get my arm all the way extended out. I was right here, and I dislocated my left shoulder right before the draft. So I went in the 10th round. I got the phone call, and it was just like, okay, you almost, I want to say this like sensitively. It's like there was so much buzz that you almost expect it, right? You're not surprised when you, oh my gosh, I got drafted, right? So it's like I put the work in and I got the results and I executed. So if you do that, this stuff will come. So many of us look at, oh, I want to go D1. Some of us look at, oh, I want to be top 10 PG. So many of us look at all these things. No, just focus here. Take the light, the discipline it takes to show up. And if you show up with intentionality and do it every single day, good things will happen. So when I got drafted, I was like, okay, cool. I remember my dad arguing on the phone multiple times with the best interest of myself for my signing bonus. Well, he needs to get this or he needs to get that. And they offered me $25,000. And I said, you know what, Dad, I'm tired of this stuff. And I don't know why or how at 20 years old. I turned to my dad and said, Dad, I'm taking the signing bonus. I'm going to make my money in the big leagues. Like that's what came out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. And if I
believed
knew,
in yourself,
but if I knew the odds of what it takes, the percentages, 4% of guys that get drafted go to the big leagues. If I knew that, I might have said a different thing. But my nonprofit foundation is called Against All Odds, and I made it against all odds. So getting drafted, I remember going to my first half-season A-ball, which is in Lowell, Massachusetts, a half hour outside of Boston. And it was a city field that we were playing at. And the clubhouse was a mobile home. And I'm like, this is pro ball. This sucks. And so many people don't realize that 90% of players after the first week of getting drafted, they want to quit. That's how difficult it is. First time away from home, stuff like that. But it was just another step in the journey. I mean, even when I went to the big leagues, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm surprised, but I'm not. Okay, here we go. What's the next step? We've got to focus here and do this and do this and do this. And all of a sudden you're playing and, oh, got an all-star game and I'm in the clubhouse in the all-star game with all these, the best of the best of the world. How did I get here? Well, I got here because I did this and did this and did this and did this. We got to focus on the process.
And you've probably visualized that moment so much in your head that you've already done it multiple times that when it actually happens to you in real life, you're like, I've done this before. I'm ready. Right. Because
I've trained everybody. You're right. You're right. And the thing is, I never envisioned being an all-star in the big leagues. So I never really thought that. I don't know. I didn't think I was that good. So I never envisioned that my whole life. I envisioned being all-stars all the way through the minor leagues and stuff, but it's weird because now that you're saying next that, level, I never envisioned of being like, that's the best in the world. That's like, you have, there's 3 million youth baseball players in the United States from high school, 0.05%, go pro, 4% of the 0.05% of the 3 million get to the big leagues, and then 13% of the 4% of the 0.05% of the 3 million become an all-star. And it's like, crazy. You have a better chance of winning the lottery, right?
Way better. Like it's.
So I don't know, but it was pretty cool flying private jets and heading the all-star game.
That's awesome. Like you visualize it so much that once you're there, you're like, it's a dream come true. What was your first game like? Like what happened in your first game?
My first game in the major leagues, I was standing on the field. I was in the starting lineup. It was in Baltimore. We were playing the Orioles, and I was obviously with the Red Sox. And they're playing the national anthem, and I had tears coming down my face because I'm like, oh my gosh, I did it. I'm here. Like it's so surreal. It's like big league stadium, like crazy. I've never been in any big league stadium other than Angel Stadium or Dodger Stadium, and I really didn't care. I'm there. But I also had a confliction of pain inside myself from the story I told myself at 14 years old. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. My dad doesn't love me. So that was really challenging for me to navigate. And it was really cool because I could use that pain and I could use that internal strife to drive me to perform at a very high level on the field between the lines. But when I left the stadium, it was very, very challenging for me as a person to navigate my internal world in my personal life. So that was ultimately the demise of my leaving the game, leaving $80 million in a table in the prime of my career, then buying a zoo, because I was running and numbing and fleeing from that pain. But on the field of man, my first at bat, I kind of flew out to right field, a can of corn or whatever. And I really didn't run hard to first base because I was just overwhelmed. I'm like, how in the flip am I here? I just came from AA. Like, this is insanity. And then my second at bat, I got a base hit off the shortstop's glove, Mike Bordick at short. And then the first ground ball hit to me in the big leagues at third base. Mind you, I came to the big leagues as a catcher. I'm not really a third baseman. And it's crazy because I was a two-time All-Star at third baseman. I really don't know how to field a ground ball, but I understand how this works and how to do it over and repeat it. So the first ground ball hit me in the big leagues. Pedro Martinez is pitching, ESPN game. Melvin Mora is on first base. There's 2 outs. There's an easy ground ball hit to me at third, like a couple nice hops. I didn't have to go down to it. I caught it right here. And it brought me in 2 steps, like really easy, like the easiest thing you could do. And I'm not going to come up and throw it to second base because that's not a normal thing. So I'm just come up and it's just go through it. I've done it thousands of times and throw it to first. And I come up and throw it to first. Right when I released it, I was like, no. Like I threw the ball into the stands. It wasn't like over the first baseman's head. It was in the stands. And that's a rocket. And timeout. If you throw the ball in the stands or it goes in the stands, it's 2 bases. If it goes in the dugout, it's 1 base. So Melvin Mora was granted third base, and the runner that hit was granted second base. So when Melvin Mora went to third, he didn't touch second base. He just kind of went at the cut of the grass. Pedro Martinez saw that, appealed it. They called him out. Inning over. My first error in the big leagues, take it away. And I'm like, this is going to be a long
Does that still count
career,
as an error?
man.
Yeah.
No,
Does that
they
still
took
count
it
as an
away.
error? Oh, that's awesome.
They took it away. They took the whole thing away. Yeah.
You get a do-over.
Yes. I needed a lot of do-overs in the big leagues at third base, but I saved myself in the batter's box. So, with that pain and all that stuff, internal strife that I was going through, like hitting was my like I never felt any better than when I was in the batting cage training and in the batter's box in front of 40,000 people. That was my safe space. That was my out. That kind of like I think of Manny Ramirez, right? Like you just go in your own world and everything else just doesn't matter. So yeah.
Cool. So you had 7 years in the big leagues, 2-time All-Star. And then like you mentioned, you decided to quit and leave $80 million on the table, which seems crazy to a lot of people. But like you said, you were dealing with some internal struggles. So if you don't mind, let's just kind of talk about that and why you chose to leave the game that you dreamt of playing in.
Yeah. So thank you. What I realized through my journey and everything I share is through 100% experience. It's not theory. It's not, I learned it from Tony Robbins or Les Brown or went to a seminar. It's just like 100% experience. And a lot of times like, I wish I didn't go through this, but it's pretty cool now because I found what I've been searching for my whole life, which is fulfillment, my smile, that passion, that fire to be able to go out there and see clearly and help other people out. So I found it. So I was like, man, I have to share this with other people. I can't keep it for myself. So, in the prime of my career, I was numb to everything and everybody around me. If you don't know who you are before you go into what you do, this happens to so many men, but as young athletes that are probably watching this or coaches, if you don't know who you are as a person, and when the pressure rises and the stakes become higher, you attach your identity to what you do. So you live and breathe and die on that roller coaster ride. And you can see it right now, the byproduct of the pressure that I'm talking about that we go through as major league players. You can see it right now with the shortstop with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. It's very challenging. A decision that he made is going to alter the direction of his career. And it's unfortunate because we're not equipped. It's tough. We're young men. We're not really equipped as a human being, as a person, as a man. But man, put me in a batter's box, I'll crush you, dude. So it's about competing and all that stuff. So I literally, that pain inside myself, stemming from the story I told myself at 14 years old, I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. My dad doesn't love me because he moved our family from Southern California to Arizona my sophomore year of high school. I was left on my own vices to interpret and communicate that experience to myself. And that's how I interpreted and communicated the experience. How can my dad take me at 14, going into high school with all my friends and all my baseball, to Arizona where I know nobody? I'm the most introverted person ever. I'm the shyest guy ever. I hate this. Oh my gosh. It's like, So in order for me to navigate that internal strife from that experience, which is not really that big of an experience compared to a lot of traumatic experiences that athletes go through, but that's just my truth. And we operate from our truth. The way I navigated that was to perform on a sports field. Soccer, best player. Baseball, best player. And that allowed me to drive and be the out. And I used that to drive me to the top. And what I realized is when you're disconnected from the inside, when you go through these challenges from stories that you tell yourself, from experiences, you find an emptiness inside. And this is the vast majority of Major League Baseball players. We have an emptiness inside because we have to perform. I have to have my foot on the gas pedal all day, every single day, 24/7. And I'm so scared to take that foot off the gas pedal because if I do that, I'm not going to have a job. There's somebody that's going to take my job. And the organization puts that pressure on you because you're just a piece of the puzzle and you're easily replaceable. So I was so scared. So I liken it to like a high performance sports car, a high performance car, like Formula One car. Like I'm driving a Formula One car in the race in Monaco. And what I realized playing Major League Baseball, my experience, and the reason why I left 80 million on the table, I didn't care. I just wanted to die. I just wanted to escape. I hate who I am. I hate the game. I hate everybody around me because I'm disconnected and I'm lost because I'm a quasi-celebrity baseball player. Everybody wanted to get to know me for what I was and not who I was.
Yeah.
I'm a person. I'm just like you. I just been gracious enough to be able to have an opportunity to go out there and do something that very few people could do, that a lot of people dream of doing. But I'm driving this race car in the Formula One race. And what I realized when I left baseball is at some point in time, when you're driving a race car in a Formula One race, you have to pull off to the pit stop to change your tires and fill up your tank of gas or fuel. Excuse me, no, we're not gas, we're not fuel. And you see it if you watch races. There's race car drivers that, man, the pit crews in their ears saying, dude, you got to do a pit stop. We got to change the tires. They're slick. You're going to lose it. No. Ego kicks in. Competitive nature kicks in. The pain inside drives him. All the internal strife that the race car driver is going through that we don't see, but I know this to the T. He says, no, I'm going. And what does he do? 9 times out of 10, he loses the race because he didn't change his tires. Shea Hillenbrand never pulled off to the pit stop to change his tires. He never pulled off to refuel his tank of fuel. So what happens? You burn out. You crash and burn. And you get to the point to where I'm flying to the All-Star game in a private jet in 2005. And I'm going to my childhood dream, getting ready to play in front of millions of people that so many people dream of. I'm looking out the window and the thoughts going through my mind are, is this all life has to offer? Gosh, I hate this, man. I've sold my soul to the game, and that's why I get so personal with so many guys on social media, on Instagram, trying to say it's this and it's that and it's mechanics and it's data. No, it's this and it's this. If we don't understand this, we can't leverage mechanics. We can't leverage data. Yes, all those are important, but we're not equipped to be able to utilize that as a resource to give me an advantage on my competition because I don't know who I am and I don't know what's going on. And it's so easy for me just to escape here with social media. So I left. I just vanished. And I had this great idea of buying a $5 million horse farm and pursuing my second childhood dream. And that was fantastic because Major League Baseball didn't do it. The glory didn't do it. The money didn't do it. The fame didn't do it. All the accolades, all the stuff that all these kids and all of us coaches are trying to help these kids reach on top of the world. It didn't fill that void inside myself. I was empty. And I was so full of pain that I hated the world. And I wish I went to sleep and died every single night. That's Shea Hillenbrand's story, but that's common with Major League Baseball players. Can't speak for anybody else, but I know exactly what they're going through. I want to be a voice for our young athletes. And that's why I mesh with you, because you have the same vision. You have the same perspective. And I want to align myself with people like yourself because we could help more people, more athletes. So I have this horse farm. I build a zoo. I have 300 farm and exotic animals. I have camels, kangaroos, llamas, alpacas, monkeys, raccoons, 56 horses. I have 2 800-pound Wilshire pigs, the ones that you eat, Taco Bell and Gilbert. I have a blind horse with a CNI pony that I put together. I have a dromedary camel named James. I have a zonkey, half zebra, half donkey, named Pippi. I have a Holstein cow. Those are the black and white ones that you milk, but you couldn't milk this one because he was a boy. He is 6 feet tall. His name was Biggie Smalls. I rescued him, and he was like a big baby, like a little puppy dog. And then I had a miniature donkey. And the miniature donkey, his name was Tupac. And we'd have to separate him at night because they'd have coast-to-coast wars and a petting zoo. No, I'm kidding. But I had a dream. I had a vision to rescue and rehabilitate these animals and put them in a position to impact and help children in my community through my nonprofit foundation Against All Odds, focusing on inner city, disabled, and child crisis children. Witnessing my animals transform thousands of children's lives in my community was priceless. Completely priceless. It was mind-blowing. It superseded anything I ever did on a Major League Baseball field. What is your dream? What's your vision that's been given to you? Because that's been given to you to go add value and serve the world and help other people solve the problems. I had these visions and I had these dreams of playing Major League Baseball and owning this zoo, but I was empty. So I was trying to fill that void with all this external gratitude. Oh, look at me. Look at me. I'm the guy that owns the zoo, and I did this. And oh, I was the first guy to hit a game winner off Mariano Rivera at Fenway Park. Oh, do you know I'm a 2-time All-Star? No, that's putrid. That's sick. Like, who operates that way? That's how I operated. And because I fell victim to the game. The game had become my name. That's all a part of the game, right? So here I am, fully actively living out my second dream. And man, it was phenomenal. I became the biggest and most popular place in town. Like, the news crew would come out and interview me, and the mayor would be like, all this stuff because of what was happening. We had a little train that would take the kids around. We had pony rides. We had all this stuff. It was fantastic. But that didn't fill that void either. That didn't work either. That didn't help me either. So it's a quiet, dark evening in a neighborhood. And underneath a buzzing street lamp, there's a white van. And inside that white van lays a Major League Baseball player. And a Major League Baseball player, as you zoom into the inside of this van, all by himself, he's clinging onto a half-drink bottle of vodka and looking down at a bottle of pills in his lap. And he says, F it. And he slams the rest of the bottle of pills and he drinks the rest of the bottle of vodka, trying to run, numb, and flee from that pain. That was me. How did I get there? How did this Major League Baseball player get there? I brought home 20 million. I lived out the dream. I did everything. I had 3 mansions, 6 cars, 300 pairs of shoes. I was living the dream that everybody says we need to do. And all the pressure that we put on these kids to go out there and play in perfect game and go to this recruiting camp and go to this showcase and do this and get this training and get this stuff for what? Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because that's such a small blip of our life. What happens if that player gets to the top? Who gives a crap? Because that's just a small chapter of their life. 7 years of my life, 7 years. And it's like that. So I lay down, as I'm laying down on the floor of this van all by myself, the soul's leaving the top of my head and I'm clinging on to my last breath. And the thoughts going through my mind are, you're a loser, you're a failure, you lost everything, you're a hypocrite. You told everybody you left Major League Baseball because you're kids, but you didn't. You left Major League Baseball because you're scared and you're a wussy and you're freaking empty and you can't handle the pressure. That's the conversation I was saying to myself. What would your parents think if you left this world today, Shea? What kind of dad would do this to his kids? Are you serious? That's not a real man. My answer to all those questions that ran through my mind, all that negative thought, all that negativity that we all deal with on a daily basis, especially athletes, I don't know. I'm nothing if I don't have baseball. I'm tired of fighting that game, so I let go. The first time in my life ever that I fully took that foot off the gas pedal and I let go. I couldn't go anymore because the game had become my name, my identity. And this happens so much. So much at the travel ball level, so much at the high school level, so much at the college level, so much like all the way through. This happens to so many players now, where it didn't happen as much to us when we were younger. Like, this is the real epitome of what's going on, is identity, is understanding, being equipped for the next chapter of our life. But we're so misconstrued with the information and what we have out there that we don't know what's going on. And I have a problem with that. So I want to stand up and be a voice for the kids, but by the grace of God, the next day, since I let go for the first time in my life, God took a hold of my life and he woke me up and I came to. I didn't have any side effects, no stomach ache, no nausea, no headache, no nothing. It was an aha moment. I call it a divine intervention, but it was a moment in my life that I was like, wow, I should either be dead or in the hospital. I have no side effects. I'm not saying I'm superhuman. I'm not saying to go out there and drink and do drugs. I'm saying my experience, this is weird. And I sat there for the first time in my life. I said, I got to take back control and I have to own my life. I have to take back control and I have to own my life. And so many baseball trainers out there, so many coaches out there, so none of us have control of our life. So we're trying to live vicariously through what we do and trying to say, I have this, and ego fills a gap, but I know more than you, and my training is better than you. And all we're doing is confusing the players. And I can tell you exactly how and why we're confusing the players, because the cognitive thinking for a teenage kid is 2 years delayed. So if I got a 16-year-old athlete, he thinks like a 14-year-old. If I have a 14-year-old, he thinks cognitively like a 12-year-old because of social media. Cognitive thinking is paying attention, receiving information, processing it because you're north of the border, and then understanding how to keep or delete and then applying that information. That's 2 years delayed. So we're going to add data. We're going to add mechanics. We're crazy. I'm not saying those things are bad, but we have to have empathy and understanding for who we are training so we can best be the resource for these kids. All you have to do, not you in general, all we have to do is look at a kid. They don't understand what we're saying. They're going to say, yeah, I got it. Because they have no self-confidence, because they know everything, because of social media. There is a big void and a gap. And I lived that to the T on top of the world. So I had to take back control and own my life. And when you do that, get into momentum. Regardless of where you are right now, you have to get into momentum because life's about momentum. It's about momentum. If I'm trying to get better at hitting a baseball, I have to get momentum. What is momentum? I have to do the work on a consistent basis. The reason why I went to the top and the reason why I was so much more successful than my peers is because I did what everybody does every other day or occasionally. I did it every single day. I had a dream. I had an obsession. And I had an understanding that this is what it takes. So I had to get the momentum. And the second thing is, you touched on earlier in the podcast, I had to be on guard of my mind. What was I saying to myself? Because the most important conversation we'll ever have in our life is a conversation with ourselves. You could boost up a player all you want. Dude, you're doing good. You're amazing. But he's not thinking that. His thoughts are, I'm a piece of crap. I suck. I'm not going to do any good. So I can't think positive in that situation because positive doesn't work. Professional athletes know when you're dealing with negativity, because negativity works all the time. Because a negative thought is 4 to 7 times more powerful than a positive thought. But if I say that negative thought out loud, externalize it, I'm given the probability of that coming true. I'm 10x in that. So 40 to 70% chance. If I come back to the dugout and they say, I suck, I'm no good, that's going to happen. There's a 70% chance. So in the major leagues, you'll never hear somebody say something out loud. If they are, you're getting a throat punch. Dude, stop saying that crap. Don't say stupid stuff out loud. So you have to understand that I have to think neutrally. So if I'm in a slump, because we all go in a slump, whether it's in my life or whether it's in a game, hitting a baseball or pitching, we're all going to go through slumps. But the best players shorten the slump. How do I shorten the slump? When I'm in a slump, negative thoughts will be there. They're there. We can't ignore those, and we cannot combat those with positive thoughts. We have to combat those with neutral thinking. My back's against the wall. I'm in this situation. What's the next right step to go to where I need to go? I'm facing a sinker ball pitcher. I can't hit sinker ball pitchers. I cannot step in the batter's box and say, I'm going to crush the sinker ball pitcher, because my mind's saying, screw you. You can't do it. You've proven that. Because belief demands evidence, right? So in order for me to crush a sinker ball pitcher or give myself a chance to crush a sinker ball pitcher, I have to have a specific neutral thought of, okay, this next pitch, I'm not just looking sinker because I know he's throwing me a sinker. I'm looking sinker up and out over the plate. It has to start above my belt and in the middle of the plate. That's where I'm going to focus. That's my approach. That's how I crush a sinker ball pitcher when every part of my mind says, You can't do it. No, I have to have a specific focus on what's next right here in order for me to go out there and give myself the best chance to leverage that opportunity. And the last thing is I had to create a new belief system. Belief. So many guys don't believe. But if you look at the one common denominator with every Major League Baseball player, 850 guys, 750 guys, whatever that is, every Major League Baseball player believes that if given that chance, whether he's a bench player that plays once a week or a franchise player that gets 400 million, they believe that given that opportunity, they're going to come through. They want the ball. I was just in the tunnel with the Diamondbacks 25th year anniversary. There's 50 guys. Saturday night, we went on the field, 40,000 people. And the most beautiful thing that I experienced, and it's crazy because I learned something by just going out there. When we were in the tunnel, 50 of us that are retired players, 50 of us. You got Kurt Schilling, you got Randy Johnson, you got Luis Gonzalez, you got Tony Womack, you got Mark Grace, you got like all these guys that are just phenomenal athletes. This is very successful major leaguers. And then you have average guys and you have guys in the middle like myself or whatever. But it was really interesting because the competitive nature of us standing in that tunnel, if you were there, you'd be like, wow, this is insane. All of us like, screw you, put me on the field. I'll go through it. I'll do it. I'm 48. Sign me for, I have the goosebumps right now because this is what we think. Like I'll do it.
Give me that bat.
It's just, something that snaps into you that you got to compete. Yeah. But the first thing is that I realized when I went on that field on Saturday night was that I really love baseball. The love of the game that I have goes so much deeper than the experiences I had playing Major League Baseball. And this was very difficult for me to get through because the experience I had playing Major League Baseball, and then when I left the game, that really damaged, put it on my heart. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this because
your sour taste in your mouth, kind of.
But 100%. But I realized how much I love the game. You have to love baseball to play baseball. You have to give. Right. I think back when I was in little league or middle school, I get a brand new fielding glove and a rawhide, gold glove or whatever. And I'd put it over my face, take a deep breath of that leather. I'd smell the grass and I couldn't wait to get 13 after little league to Pinto Pony. We played in Southern California because you could wear metal spikes
and you can lead off.
When you walk in the dugout, you hear that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you got to love the game. How many kids, how many players truly love the game because they're here? They're here because of data. They're here because of mechanics. They're here because of results. They're here because they want to go to the next level. It has to start here to get you through the storms and the failure. I hit 310 for the D-backs. I had 580 plate appearances. If 310 of 580, that means I failed 400 times over 6 months every single day in front of the world with the fans tell me I suck and my mom's a whore and I'm a piece of crap. That's what I dealt with. Love has to get you through it. And if you love something, the second thing I learned by being on that field Saturday night is that you have to commit to it and you have to sacrifice. Think about a relationship. Think about your child. You love your child. I have to commit to my child. I have to commit to my relationship. I have to commit to my job. I have to commit to baseball, and I have to sacrifice some way, somehow, somewhere. I sacrifice so much to be on top of the world playing Major League Baseball. If people knew what I had to sacrifice and commit to and put myself through, they wouldn't do it. So it starts with the love. Then you have to commit and sacrifice. A lot of kids don't understand that because everything's been given to them. Yeah. Rankings, teams, all this stuff. No, hitting's a craft. I have to understand my swing and I have to understand what I need to do to get to the contact point and do it freely and no tension and understand timing. And then maybe once my swing comes out, I could work on adjusting that swing. But I can't work on mechanics and all this stuff if I don't know my swing. It's commitment, it's sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice for what you love? Is that time away from your family? Is that time from your friends? Is that maybe not taking a vacation? I never had a spring break. High school, college, pro ball, big leagues. I never had a spring break. I never had a summer break, ever, in my whole life. I sacrificed that because I wanted to do that, and that's what's required to go to the next level. And the last thing is, first thing is love. Second thing is commitment and sacrifice. And the third thing I learned Saturday night for being on that field with the rest of the guys, like I said, you have to compete. You have to have intention when I walk to that batter's box. When I walk on that field, I'm thinking I'm going to crush you. I'm going to crush you. I have two options. I'm either hitting a ball off your face or I'm throwing my bat at your face. I'm not saying that, but that's my intensity. Yeah. That's my approach. That's my competitive nature. And the only reason, or the only way I can say that is by training and training with intention.
Yeah.
You have to compete. This is a game. So many guys don't compete because they're focused on exit velo. They're focused on mechanics. They're focused on the data. They're focused on who's watching all this stuff. You got to compete. And then you have to be able to go out there and stir up a hunger inside yourself to do what other guys aren't.
Mm-hmm. Man, so much to unpack there. I love listening to you talk, man. You just, and yeah, kids, you have to love the game. You have to love the play. You have to love the practice. You have to love to watch it. Like, you have to just love everything about it. You can't just, want to make the bigs because you want the money. Like, that's not going to drive you to do the things necessary to make it. You have to sacrifice. You have to want to commit. You have to outwork everybody every single day and just get there. And another thing that you talked about was the pressure of athletes and like celebrities and just everybody's eyes on them, and how much pressure there is on you guys, that you see the money, you see the cars, you see the mansions, you see the celebrity, but you forget that, hey, you're still a real person. You still have real struggles. You're still a real human that is thrown in the situation. All the eyes are on you, and there's just so much pressure for you to perform. And like you said, if you don't, you're going to be replaced, right? And it can all be taken away, like just like that. And there's just so much pressure. I don't think enough people really talk about that. Even now with social media, like you mentioned before, like there wasn't really social media when you play. I don't think 2005.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
yeah. I think a lot of professional athletes, if there was social media back there, it would have been a different story. But
And maybe we would have acted differently, right? Maybe we would have pursued things differently.
Yeah, but like even the pressure on kids now with the social media and then just being a professional athlete is crazy. But man, like, just listening to you talk, like I said, I just love listening to you talk. Like, you pretty much covered everything that I wanted to talk about, that I had written down that I want to talk about. But well, let's just kind of, before we wrap it up, let's just kind of talk about what you're doing now, and what you have going for you now, because your nonprofit Against All Odds. Let's talk about that for a minute. And I know you do a lot of like guest speaking and stuff. Let's talk about what you got going on now.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Right now, my wife and daughters, two of my daughters, they jump horses, hunter jumper equestrian. So we do that. They do it competitively around the country. So we spent a month in Colorado. We're going to spend 2 weeks in Temecula, California, coming the beginning of October. So I'm really invested in that, in supporting them, because I told my wife, because God brought her into my life when I was at the bottom. And that those things will happen. People will come into your life if you're able to see it and save you. So my wife saved my life, and I get really emotional when I touch on that, because it's just without her, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am right now. And I told her, I said, I'll take you to the promised land, and I'll support you 100% with your dreams and whatever you want to do. So that's what we're doing primarily. And then I keynote speak around the world. So I share my story, and I share and touch on peak performance stuff. So I'll talk to sales teams. I'll talk to corporate CEOs, executives. I go into clubhouses. On Friday, I'm going to go speak to the Oakland A's out here in Arizona, and share them what I went through and what it takes to get to the top, and hopefully they can learn from some of my pitfalls and stuff that I went through. I really enjoy doing that. And then I have a peak performance, elite performance company. So I have a pro golfer that I'm going to coach right after this on the phone, a coaching call. I work with baseball players with that. I really have a passion for teaching hitting in a different way, like the foundation of hitting, because I'm fully sold on, with my experience in observing this industry and where kids are, and what the biggest gap is focus. Broken focus is the number one reason for failure.
Yeah, huge.
Where does that come from? That stems from social media, right? Because social media trains us, all of us, not just the players, but if we're going to teach them and guide them and mentor them, social media trains us to have our attention go super fast, super fast, super fast.
Like a goldfish, yeah.
You can't do that in the batter's box. You can't do that when you're training. You can't do that on the baseball field, because it demands a tremendous amount of focus and effort and energy. So I'm sold on that. Hitting a baseball is 4 components. The first 2 components are mindset and movement. That's hitting a baseball. Mindset aspect is 3 things. The state of mind that I'm in when I walk to the plate. The state of mind that I'm in when I'm training. Do I have intentionality when I'm walking to the plate? Am I in a powering mindset, like shoulders back, head up, I'm going to go, I'm glad I'm in this situation? Or am I disempowering, where negative thoughts can creep in and self-doubt? Very important. The second thing is self-confidence. And when you're in a slump, the number one thing that goes is self-confidence. You have to have self-confidence. But we need to understand self-confidence demands evidence. I must do something repetitively over and over and over again to do it, to get competence, which is doing things the right way consistently. So if I'm hitting a ball off a batter's tee, I'm looking to do it over the right way, not trying to find a swing, not trying to do velo, not trying to get exit velo. I'm trying to get this consistently one movement so I can ingrain that feel. So when I read the pitch in that location, that swing will just come out of my file cabinet, because hitting a baseball is reading it and then reacting to it, not swinging it, not hitting. It's just a reaction. So if that reaction is efficient and consistent, I will give myself the best chance. And the last part of the mindset aspect is, what am I focusing on? When I'm on the batter's tee, what am I focusing on? When I have front toss, what am I focusing on? When I'm on a curveball machine, what am I focusing on? When I've got BP on the field, what am I focusing on? Well, off the batter's tee, to give you an example, I'm focusing on 4 things. 99% of players focus on batter's tee, hit a line drive to the back of the net. That's not going to get you anywhere. I have to ingrain a feel into my nervous system so I can repeat it over and over and over again. This has nothing to do with hitting a baseball. It's training your mind and your body. So I have a 4-step focus formula. Direction, back of the net. Step 2, look at the ball. Tell myself I'm dialing in that RAS. I'm telling my mind, hit the flipping ball there. How many times has a kid, if he's in high school, hit a ball off a tee and hit it the back of the net? I challenged thousands of times. That swings inside of us. Step 3, have to achieve my load. Start, achieve my load, because your loading mechanism, whatever we call that nowadays, the loading mechanism, your load and your stride is the most important part of your swing. That has to get out of the way before I not hit, but read the pitch. So I have to tell myself, step 3 off the tee, start, achieve my load. And step 4, as I'm looking at the ball and where I want to hit it, tell myself, back of the net, back of the net, back of the net, back of the net. I feel what it feels like to hit the ball off the back of the net. This is exactly how you make an adjustment in between pitches in a Major League game. Nobody will teach you this, because not many people focus on this and articulate this. So off the tee, what am I focused on? Direction, ball, achieve my load, feel. Direction, ball, achieve my load, feel. This is the $1 million formula for free. This is how you hit 300 or become an all-star in the big leagues. It's that simple. I can get a bum off the street to do this, but dudes say, nope, simple, not going to do it, because simple doesn't sell. I have to make it complicated. I have to entertain. I have to make it intriguing to get people to come pay and buy my product or my service and follow me. So but if you go to the top, or if you deal with elite athletes, hitters, they want it simple. If it's not simple, I can't apply it, and I can't go out there, because when the pressure rises, we revert back to our rituals and our habits. And if you're just hitting a ball off the tee to the back of the net, I got you, because the pressure's pretty big when the game is on the line. I have one pitch in that bat in the big leagues to do anything with. Why aren't we talking about this? Because a lot of people don't understand this, and they want to go to the mechanics and they want to go to the data, all this stuff that's out there right now, because that's what's the forefront of the information. All that stuff is important. But if we don't know how to make the mechanical adjustment and apply that to my swing, rather than adjusting my swing to what you want me to do, not you, but a coach. And if I don't know how to, that's why I commented the other day on your thing, and you're talking about the data shows me a way, this and that. Yeah, that's important. But the kid needs to understand how to get there first. He needs to understand the sequence of the swing. So the second thing in hitting is movement. The first thing is mindset. The second thing is movement. I have to be able to move. I have to move freely. I can't have any tension in my body. I can't tell myself to stay here. I can't overload my backside because it's not a balanced position. I can't try to load my hands. My hands will load naturally. I got to allow my body to move freely throughout this sequence and the evolution of my swing. The third thing is balance. I have to be balanced. If I'm balanced when in my stance and throughout the movement, my muscles that I train in the gym, all this stuff that I'm doing will control the movement. I don't even have to tell myself to stay here. I don't have to tell myself to get my front foot down on the toe, then slam my heel, then lock out my front side and get to connection and get to whatever we talk about. I don't have to do that if I allow myself to move, if I know what to focus on, and I understand that I'm balanced. And then the last thing is hitting is sequence. What's the sequence of a swing? It starts with your focus. When I'm standing in the batter's box, the first thing I need to do is be relaxed. I can't have a tense muscle in my body. I tell you, like the number that's coming to my mind right now is like 92% of players that you work with, that you see at your level, they have tension in their body. Tension will restrict the movement.
Oh, yeah.
Now it becomes mechanical. My mechanics break down. Now my swings, natural swings, not coming out. So now we're trying to fix the swing because mechanics are breaking down because of tension and timing. So we're trying to fix a swing and create a swing that's not even the hitter's swing. So now the hitter's fighting himself inside saying, this isn't my swing. He's not going to say that to you, but he's got this internal battle like, no. My mind, my natural swing wants to do this, but he's telling me to do this and this and this and this. No. So all that's a byproduct of tension and timing. So I have to focus on in the game, the sequence of the swing is, when do I start my swing? At what point in time in the windup or the stretch am I going to start my loading mechanism? I don't know what you guys call it. Maybe you're stretched now or whatever that might be.
Yeah, just load. Load is good.
I have to start that to where that's out of the way by the time I read the pitch. And I need to read the pitch within the first 10, 15 feet out of the pitcher's hand. That's where I have to identify it. Because the next 20 feet to 40 feet is how long it takes me to process the information. My mind, I see it, I read it, it sends the information to my brain processes it real quick, and I say launch. So I have to have this out of the way by the time I read the pitch. So at what point in time in the pitcher's windup am I going to start my load? Everybody's load is differently, but the vast majority of kids don't load because they have tension. So now a coach doesn't see their hands moving, and they tell them to move their hands. No, I don't have to move my hands. Because at 5 years old, when I started hitting, I did it naturally. We do it naturally. But the tension in our body with the tension, because we don't have to focus on the pressure and not having confidence, gets in the way for allowing my body to move. So when do I start? Read the pitch. It's the second thing I focus on in the sequence of a swing. I have to read that pitch after I load. If you watch a very successful major league player, I think of Tatis right now, or Vlad Jr. or Bichette, there's a pause in our swing right after we load. There's a millisecond pause. It's not just like that. Yeah. It's here, read, go. It's here, read, go. It's here, read, go. So after I load, as my foot's coming down that stretch, whatever that might be, or whatever you guys talk about, or the industry talks about, that has to be done before I read the pitch. And then I read the pitch right here, and all I do is gain that intel. Where's the pitch? And then all of a sudden, I just read it, and my mind goes to my file cabinet, and it just pulls out my swing. I just react to it. But trying to do that in front of 40,000 is one of the most difficult things to do in the world. It's not easy. The big leaguers make it look easy. If you watch big leaguers, they're free. They're loose. They're moving. Yeah. There's no tension. All that comes from focus. It doesn't come from anything else. We just train this. And the cool thing about this, it doesn't take ability. It doesn't take talent. It's a skill set. So it takes understanding it first and repeating it over and over and over again so you get confidence and get really good at that. Once I understand the sequence of the swing, then my natural swing's going to come out. But I got to understand how long from when I start to contact. I understand how long it needs to take to get there. I need to understand that. All players need to understand that. How long does it take me to get there with whatever I have? And I guarantee you, if I'm free and I give myself time and not rush my load or rush this part of my load or this part of my swing, if I give myself time and go, this swing, I'd say 98% of swings will iron out. The mechanics will be really efficient. And now you got kids in high school or college that go from hitting 280 to 450 and 500 just by understanding what I'm talking about right here. And then once the swing comes out and it's consistent, and I'm working on it consistently, then we can make the adjustments with that swing. But we're making adjustments on swings when kids are tense and rushing and their swing's breaking down. That's not even their swing. Now it confuses them. Now the byproduct of confusion is no self-confidence. Now I got a kid trying to find his swing off the tee, trying to find his swing off soft toss, trying to find his swing off the curveball machine, trying to find his swing on the field. Then me as a coach got to go have confidence, go compete. Then they swinging a ball in the dirt, and then they let strike three go by because they have zero self-confidence because they're always trying to find their swing. We need to switch from finding to refining. And this is how we do it. We got to allow a swing to naturally come out before we work on it. But so many of us have so much information out there and really don't understand the mindset aspect. the movement aspect, the balance aspect. I see it all the time where kids overload their backside. If you're flat-footed on your back foot or have weight in your heel, you have to shift that weight to the ball of your foot, the base of your big toe, before you go forward. You could do it at the lower levels, but that's a waste of movement. That takes two tenths of a second or that you don't have that.
Yeah.
So why don't we just be more efficient, understand how to be balanced, and then allow ourselves to move throughout the sequence, and then kids start to understand. When we understand, we get confidence. That's what I'm trying to seek with the player. I don't give a damn about the swing. I don't care about the success. I don't care about PG. I don't care about D1 Pro. I want a kid to have confidence. Because if he can find confidence on the field in a place that he loves, or in the batting cage, or with baseball, what happens when he walks into the school? What happens when he has to deal with peer pressure? What happens, but the kids are being beat down in the place where they're trying to find confidence by us as coaches because we're trying to overcomplicate it. And then we get frustrated because we truly don't understand it. And then we take our frustration out on the kid. And these players are not equipped to be able to handle that because their cognitive thinking is 2 years behind. So what do the colleges do? What do the scouts do? Oh, next. Forget that guy. We'll find someone else. What happens with the guy that they say next because he just doesn't understand that guy could be the next Shea Hillenbrand that becomes a 2-time All-Star because I was a next. But when they said next, I said, no, I'm going to go work and I'm going to prove to you so you can't say next. So once we understand it, then we can bring on the data. Then we can bring on the exit velo. Then we can fine tune it. But we have Ferraris with athletes, high school players or youth players. They're like a Ferrari. But us as hitting coaches, we're putting Hyundai parts, aftermarket parts on a Ferrari, trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. We just need to get a kid to understand how to drive the Ferrari. And then once the kid understands his swing, then maybe we can adjust the exhaust. Maybe we could change the brakes. But you can't take a Ferrari and try to turn him into a Honda. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, like the biggest
dude,
thing
I love
about
this so much.
No, it's all good, man. I love listening. So it's awesome. Like, like the biggest thing about hitting, like if you're not focused, if you don't have your mind right, if you don't have the right approach, it doesn't matter what your mechanics look like. It doesn't matter what your exit velo is. If you don't focus and you don't have your mindset right, you don't have your approach right, like none of that matters. That is the number one thing that has to be there. Like if you take the best mechanics in the world and you give a poor mindset or poor approach, it's literally not going to matter. Right. So I think being focused is huge because you see a lot of kids in the cage. They're just going through the motion. They're just, doing this because they told them, like, put your hands here because the coach told me, right? It's like, no, this is why you need to do it. You need to focus. Like you get kids hitting off the tee and they're just missing the ball, like missing a ball that's not moving. Like that's just a lack of focus. That's all that is.
They laugh at it, right? They laugh it off because they feel stupid. Yeah.
But you gotta focus. But,
so have you ever thought about why franchise players make so much money? So I think of Machado. I saw San Diego this weekend. Machado, Tatis, Soto. They're all in multi-$100 million contracts. I think of David Ortiz when I played, Manny Ramirez, Cabrera is playing with Miguel right now, Barry Bonds. Only reason why they were so successful wasn't their mechanics, because we all could hit. They got to the contact point more consistently. They were at that point, whatever we want to call it, they were there consistently. It is so hard to be there consistently at the top because the pitching is so darn good. How does a franchise hitter that gets paid so much money, get there consistently? They understand their swing. They understand what to focus on. They understand the balance. They understand how they move. They understand how the sequence works in the swing. That's it. That's all they do. They're just getting there more consistently than the rest of the players. And if you get there more consistently to the contact point, your results, you executing, will go up. So whereas they make contact consistently on a ball right here, that's a home run, where the vast majority of major leaguers, they don't get there consistently. So what happens? They foul that ball off. So that foul ball just goes fouled off because of timing and tension and focus, not because of mechanics. But now we're looking at Shohei. Now we're looking at Shohei, I don't know how to, or we look at a Trout, we look at all these guys, and what we do is slow it down and show their mechanics and show, oh, look, he's getting here. He does that naturally. He never worked on that. He does that naturally. David Ortiz is the #1 postseason clutch hitter in baseball history. Why? He got there consistently. That's it. All the rest of the players didn't.
It's not because his mechanics were better than anybody.
I played with these guys, man. I can't do it, and I could hit. I can't do what they do mechanically. It's not. Now we're trying to look at these guys and analyze these guys and say, hey, teach this kid that can't hit the ball off the tee with these mechanics of this kid. No. What are you focusing on? Are you in a balanced position? Are you free? We got to let ourselves swing to evolve and hit the ball where we want to hit it. Front toss. When do I start? Read it. When I read the pitch, if the ball's middle of the way, where do I want to hit that pitch in soft toss? Not how, where? Well, I'm driving that ball to center to right center every single time. That's it. That's it. And if I tell myself to do that, my mind and my mechanics, if I'm on time, it will find a way to put myself in a position to do exactly what I need to do to hit it there. And how I do it's going to be different than you, than the next guy, That's the beauty of hitting a baseball. But what we could do consistently is train this and this, understand how the swing works. I will never forget, and I'll leave you on this. I will never, ever, 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 ever forget how hard it is to hit a baseball.
It's hard. So hard. Yeah.
It's hard. And we try to make it so easy.
Yeah.
And we overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate your time, and I thank you so much for this opportunity.
No, thank you for coming on and speaking, because like I said, you have so much good stuff to say, and being open and vulnerable about your story. I admire that too, because I've struggled in the past with a lot of things too, and I'm very open about my history with my mistakes and my alcoholism and stuff like that. I'm very open about all that. And I think the reason that we do that is because we want to help people through our mistakes and through our pain. And that's I think that's what makes us qualified to do that, is because we struggled with those things. And a lot of people think like, oh, you did this, you're not qualified to do that. It's like, well, actually that makes me qualified to talk about it and share my experiences. So thank you for sharing all of that with me, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I'm super excited. Thank you so much.